Hello, and welcome to another episode of the United She Stands podcast. Today, when you're listening to this episode, if you're listening to it the day it drops, we are 1 week away from the Ohio primary election on May 5th. So we are going to talk to you all today about all of the things you need to know, at least at a high level, about what's going to be on your ballot May 5th. You could vote early. We're going to talk about that. But at the latest, you have to vote by next Tuesday, May 5th. Let's start with that. If you didn't hear me say it, the election is May 5th. This is an election where you can vote absentee or with mail-in. That is available to all voters. If you are listening to this on the day the episode drops, April 28th, we're just going to remind you to get your mail-in ballot done and in because Ohio's changed the rules and that ballot has to be in their hands and recorded by May 5th. With the U.S. Postal Service, you just never know. So if you have not dropped in your mail-in ballot, do it right this minute. Do it right now. Don't wait. Other than that,
literally don't even listen to the rest of this episode.
Yeah.
Do it right now.
That's what you're doing and go put your mail-in ballot in the mail. Fill it out if you haven't done that. Other than that, there's also early voting happening. So early voting is happening. You can find the exact dates and times at your Board of Elections, but it's happening now through May 3rd. So if you're listening to this April 28th, you still have time to early vote. And if you are going to think you might be busy on election day or you never know, something could pop up, it never hurts to early vote. So if you have some time, go get it done.
One common misconception, though, is early voting is not available the day before voting day. So you have until May 3rd, which is Sunday. No voting is happening on Monday, May 4th. Actual election day, if you want to vote on time on election day, Tuesday, May 5th. So just remember that.
Yeah. And then if you are an on election day voter, the polls are open 6:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. on election day.
Get your ass there. Thanks.
Get it done.
So we're going to do a kind of overview of mostly the statewide races in Ohio that'll be on your ballot. But let's first talk about, let's totally, completely level set, make sure we are all standing on the same ground. What is a primary? This is a completely valid question. If you have been wondering this with, the word primary being thrown around the last few months or listening to our episodes coming up to this or listening to the intro to this episode, it is totally valid. Let me tell you a story. And I have told this story on the podcast before, and it is one, to show you that it's a valid question, and two, to show you how far I've come. Okay.
Tap on the shoulder, how much I learned.
I know, no, but seriously, this was me in 2020. I was filling out my absentee ballot for the November 2020 election, and this is the first time that I've ever voted absentee. And on the little envelope, you have to check whether the ballot is for the primary election or the general election. And I was freaking out. I guess this would have been November. November 2020. Okay. So I was freaking out. This was obviously Trump versus Biden. And I was like, if we fuck this up, we're all going to burn. And so I was really stressed. And I took so long to fill it out because I didn't want to mess anything up. I get to the envelope and I'm, almost done. I'm like, okay, I don't know if this is the primary or the general election. To be honest, I don't really know the difference. The primary election sounds right because primary, this is the primary election. It's the presidential election. Sounds big. So that's what I checked. And then before I actually did this, I texted a friend or a group of friends, and they weren't responding. So I just went ahead because I was like, primary presidential, duh. And then after I checked it, they came back and they were like, no, it's the general. And I was like, no, my ballot's ruined. It's not going to get counted, blah, blah, blah. But all I did was I scribbled it out, checked general and initialed it. But I was still so nervous about it. So I tracked my ballot and made sure it was counted. But anyways, all that to say, if you don't know what a primary is, it is okay. I made the mistake I didn't know what it was not too long ago. So primaries are elections that political parties use to select candidates for the general election. So primaries are typically held in the spring and the general election is held in November. And so after the primary election, each party's candidates then run against each other in the general election. And so other issues, both state and local, may also be on the primary ballot. And we'll talk a little bit about that today as well. but it is mostly to select the candidates that you will be voting for or you want to see on the official ballot in November.
Yes. So one thing to know about Ohio's primary specifically is that we have what are called semi-open primaries here in the state of Ohio. That means that voters, regardless of whether they consider themselves a member of a political party or not, can choose which party's primary to vote in. So I am a registered Democrat. I could walk in and ask for a Republican ballot. It does not matter what party you're affiliated with. If you are not affiliated with a party at all, you can still walk in and ask for either ballot. But the one thing about this is that the voter does have to choose candidates from just one party to vote for. So you walk in to vote between now and the end of May. Like we said, the poll worker will ask you which ballot or party you want. You'll either say Republican, Democrat, or sometimes Libertarian, but not usually. You can only pick one. So say you choose a Democratic ballot, you will only see Democrats on your ballot. And you will decide among those Democrats which ones you then want to win, and will go on and run against Republicans in the general in November for the actual election win to put them in office.
And we'll also be including a link on how to find out what's going to be on your ballot in the show notes. And I actually just went through it today, and you could see the options if you choose a Republican ballot or if you choose a Democratic ballot. So hopefully that'll help you kind of absorb primary elections in Ohio.
All right, we're going to talk about statewide races first. So, also known as state executive offices. We'll get into those in a second. Before we do that, we are going to talk about some races on the Democratic ballot where we have backed or thrown our support behind a specific candidate. We want to start by saying thank you to everyone who's running, whether we are actively supporting that candidate or not. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It opens you up to attacks, personal and political, and it brings in your loved ones and your families. And we know all the bad things that come with politics. So I just want to say thank you to every candidate that's running. We also want to be super clear that we will be supporting whoever comes out of the Democratic primaries, regardless of who we have thrown our support behind in the primary, because we know at the end of the day, we are all on the same side and we're all on the same team. And we might be really excited about a candidate that's running in the Democratic primary, but we're going to support Democrats on the ballot in November. So the primary is the time where we get to vote like our hearts and fight for the direction we think the party should go in. And the general in November is when we rally to defeat the GOP together as an entire left-leading side of the party. So I just want to make that clear before we go on, because we are going to talk about some specific candidates today. But if yours are different, that's awesome. Vote for your candidates, and then we'll all get together and vote together in November.
Beautifully said, Ashley. So first, we are starting with the governor race, and we've been talking about this for literally almost a year now. But we are so excited for this race here. And we're only going to get even more obnoxious about it between now and November. But you don't really have an option on your Democratic ballot in the primary. You will be seeing Amy Acton and David Pepper as the duo for governor and lieutenant governor, and only them. So that one will be nice and easy for you.
Yeah, and I think just real quick, we're not going to go through the Republican side of the ballot. We're assuming if you're listening to this show by now, you are probably not selecting a Republican ballot. If you are, amazing. Thank you for being here. Really sorry we just aren't as informed on that side of the ballot to be able to honestly speak to it, or even have probably very nice things to say for most of them, full of transparency. So yeah, we're going to focus on the Democratic ballot today. Next up, we have the Attorney General. There are two Democrats on the ballot for the primary, John Kulowitz and Elliot Forhan. We will most absolutely be supporting John Kulowitz. I think that's probably all I'll say about that.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
Unless you want to add any color, Sarah.
Nope, I think we're good there.
John Kulowitz is a great candidate. Give him a follow if you aren't already. He's a ton of experience, and I've heard him speak in public, and I think he will do a fabulous job for us.
All right, Secretary of State, we have two fantastic options on the Democratic side, Brian Hambly and Allison Russo. We are putting our support and endorsement behind Brian Hambly in the primary, and mostly our deciding factor was because he's not taking corporate PAC money. We are huge supporters here at United She Stands of fixing corporate finance, fixing campaign finance, and how bad Citizens United effed everything up in politics. And so we are big believers in keeping money out of politics, and Brian is the candidate that most closely aligns with that for the primary.
Yeah. And just to add some color here, this is probably the biggest Dem excitement on the ballot. Like, this is what, when we're talking to other people, like, this is kind of the race people are like, who are you voting for, and going back and forth on. Once again, just a reminder, we're supporting whoever comes out of the primary. Okay, we have a lot of respect for Allison Russo and everything she's done in the legislative, her legislative work. But yeah, like Sarah said, it just came down to like principles we've supported and stood behind, and that was why we felt more closely aligned to Brian on this one. All right, auditor, nice and easy. You got one choice. Annette Blackwell will be our candidate going into November.
And Ashley, I don't know if you noticed this, but I did prep this outline with the Republican candidates. And can you just like read exactly what I wrote for the Republican?
Yeah. Ooh, I like this, Sarah. Okay. So the Republican that will be running against Annette Blackwell is going to be Frank LaFuck, is what Sarah put in our outline here. But it's Frank LaRose, y'all. So it's the current Secretary of State who has done so much damage to elections and like voter access and all the stuff here, ballot initiatives in Ohio. So like, let's make sure he loses. Okay.
Please, I would love nothing more. And I never ever admitted to y'all that I was mature. So you're welcome for that nickname. Okay, moving on to treasurer. Another easy vote because there is one option for the Democratic nominee, and that is Seth Walsh. And we hope to have him on the podcast between the primary and the November election. We have been in contact with his team and are excited to chat.
Yeah, I need to know what a treasurer does, full transparency.
Yeah.
So pumped for that. And let's move on to the Ohio Supreme Court. There are 2 seats open. The very first is Jennifer Bruner's current seat, and she is the Democrat on your ballot. She's the incumbent in this race. She's the only Democrat sitting on our Supreme Court right now, guys. So we have to defend that seat like hard.
Please, we need to cherish her and protect her at all costs.
Yes. And then there is another seat on the ballot. So Dan Hawkins' current seat, he is running as the incumbent on the Republican side. The Democrat challenging him, and who you'll see on your Democratic primary ballot, is Marilyn Zayas. I'm really sorry, I might have butchered that last name. So anyway, that will be your 2 Dem votes. Same thing. They're easy. You got 2 options, one for each seat.
Amazing. Moving on to congressional races. So this is at the federal level. We would love to go through the primary options for the Ohio legislature, but we just don't have the time or bandwidth to put that outline together. So first, we're going to talk about the Senate. And just to clarify, this is actually a special election for the Senate because of JD Vance. Okay, so this special election is to fill the rest of JD Vance's 6-year term that started in 2022. So Governor DeWine appointed Republican John Husted to fill Vance's open Senate seat after Trump and Vance won the presidency and vice presidency. But this appointment was only to fill the seat until the special election that's happening this year. And so that special election will be in November, but this is to pick the candidates that will, or the candidate, both Democrat and Republican, that will be on the November ballot. All that to say, John Husted has to run for the first time for his Senate seat to keep this appointed seat. But that also means we're going to be voting for the Senate seat again in 2 years when this term is up. Both this year, November 2026 and 2028, will have big, important Senate races in Ohio. So lock in, everyone. It's going to be a ride. We'll have 2 options on the Democratic ballot for the primary in May, and that is Sherrod Brown and Ron Kincaid. We will be voting for Sherrod. We believe he has the best shot between the 2, and this is not a race to F around with.
For sure. Okay, we're going to move on to the House of Representatives. So once again, the congressional level. We are going to quickly touch on like the state house and local levies and other stuff like that. So stick with us through this. We'll do this as quickly as we can. Everything we've talked about so far is on your ballot if you live in Ohio and you're listening to this. When we move into the congressional districts here, one of these is going to be on your ballot out of the 15. So remember that this year you are voting. It is in new districts. So you might be in a different district than you were in the past. You need to double check which district you live in.
Specifically, if you live in Monroe County and the county above that, I actually have a map of Ohio counties. Monroe or Belmont, I believe they switched. One was in 6 and now it's in 12 and then vice versa. So that's on the east side of Ohio. So if you live on the east side, definitely double check
Yes.
what district you're in.
And I even know like parts of Mahoning got rejigged.
Yeah.
I mean, check everything because
Everything got changed, but that was a
same
huge
thing.
chunk, I
Yeah.
know.
Same thing with like Amelia Sykes' district. Like we didn't used to include parts of Portage and they drew Kent into us now. So Kent, and if you're in the Kent area, you are in a different district. So yes, it's all different. That's what they do when they gerrymander maps. They change them to be crazy.
And we're going to try to describe the area of each of these districts. Now, again, with the gerrymandering, it's really hard to describe, but we try our very best. So if any of the areas sound vaguely familiar, maybe your district. So again, just double check.
Yeah. And if you know your district, feel free. We're going to go in order here. So feel free to hit the forward 30 seconds button or whatever till you get to it. But like I said, we'll touch on some more stuff after we get through these congressional districts.
If you know your district, give yourself a pat on the back because that's impressive.
Yeah, it is. All right, so District 1 is the Cincinnati area, the south half of Hamilton County, Warren counties, Clinton counties. Your current Democratic representative, Greg Landsman, is the incumbent. He is running again here, but he does have a challenger in the primary, and that is Damon Lynch. If you go look at our Sway Voter Guide, we got Damon Lynch on there. He's grassroots, he's progressive. We like Greg Landsman as a human. He's done some things with Israel that we're not really fond of. And then even with the latest war, he kind of came out and like kind of said this Iran war was okay initially. And I don't know. It's just, I think like him having a challenger is a good thing. And we like what Damon Lynch is selling. So that's who's on our voter guide. But vote your heart. Vote your heart. And we're supporting whoever makes it through.
Absolutely. Okay, District 2. This is a huge portion of Southern Ohio. So it includes all the way from Claremont County up to the bottom half of Perry County, all the way over to Washington County. And the incumbent here for District 2 is Republican David Taylor. So if that sounds familiar, this is your district.
Yes. Okay. District 3. The area covers north central, northeast, and a little bit of southeast Columbus. So it's kind of all over. This is Sarah's district.
This is my district.
In this race, you have incumbent Joyce Beatty, and then she does have a primary challenger, Joe Girard, and you can check out our voter guide, but we have Warbeck and Joe on this one. So yeah, that's Sarah's district.
Shout out to Joe for running against Joyce Beatty.
Yeah.
We appreciate
need primaries, man. We need primaries.
Yes, yes. Okay, District 4. This runs from West Ohio to North Central Ohio. So Mercer and Van Wert counties to the bottom half of Richland County. There is only one Democrat on the ballot. This is Joshua Kolazinski, and he is running against incumbent Jim Jordan. Oh, it even hurts to say his name.
It does. I at least heard about this race that like no one was running against Jim Jordan, so Josh was like, "I'm doing it." And like, Josh, thank you. Just
thank you, Josh. You're amazing. Oh, love it.
Okay, District 5. The area is North Ohio from Hancock and Wood counties down to Elyria. And there are actually 4 Democrats running in this primary against the incumbent. The incumbent is a Republican, so this is Bob Latta's district. So the Democrats that you'll see on the ballot in District 5 are Daniel Burkett, Martin Heberling III, Brian Shaver, and Scott Tabor.
Okay, District 6. This is East Ohio. So portions of Wayne and Holmes all the way to the Pennsylvania border with Columbiana and Jefferson counties. It also includes some of Youngstown as well. If you're interested in one of the amazing candidates in the Democratic primary for District 6, go back to our episode with Sean Connolly. He is the tattoo artist, hopefully turned congressman. He has 4 other opponents in the Democratic primary. Those are Charles DePalma, Brent Haney, Malcolm Ritchie, and Adrian Vitus. We love Sean. He's on our voter guide. We are huge fans, and we think if you listen to that episode, you will be too.
Yeah, we've just got to know him personally. And just to be fully transparent, we don't know the other candidates. So if you're voting elsewise, get after it. Like I said, whoever makes through the primary. Guy.
Yep. But this is another big name incumbent in Ohio. Michael Ruley is who they're running against. He is the Republican and is the current congressman in that seat.
Yep. All right, moving on to District 7. This is another really crowded primary, and this is in one of the districts that we really think we can flip, and this is District 7, running against Max Miller as the incumbent. I'm sure you've heard that name because he does awful things on the Republican side of the world.
Fun fact, Max Miller used to be married to Senator Bernie Moreno's daughter, Emily Moreno.
How did you find that out? I was actually wondering that. Like, is this public knowledge? I didn't know
This is public knowledge. Go to his freaking Wikipedia page, and also I read about it in, I believe, the Ohio Capital Journal like at at least a year ago. It was a while ago.
Okay, Sarah bringing the tea.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, I think it was a messy divorce. Yeah.
Okay, so the District 7, we haven't had anyone on the show. We don't personally know any of these candidates. So there's, like I said, there's, I don't even know, 7 or 8 of, I think there's 7 of them. 8 of them. Okay. So we're going to quickly list them for you, but sorry, District 7, you're going to have to do your own homework here. John Buchko, Anne Marie Donegan, Michael Eisner, I'm really sorry, I'm probably butchering names, Ed Fitzgerald, Keith Mundy, Brian Poindexter, Laura Rodriguez Carbon, and Scott Scholes. The only thing I really know about this district is that Bernie Sanders endorsed Brian Poindexter, if that helps anybody. But like I've looked personally at Laura Rodriguez's Carbones. I'm really sorry, Laura, about your last name that I just did that there. But I looked at her platform and I thought it was really good too. Like I think that there's a lot of progressive leaning people in this race. You know, so like I said, if you're in District 7, take a peek at all these people and decide which one you think looks best and go vote.
Yeah, you have a week to do your research, so you'll need that time for sure. District 8, this is West Ohio, so dark, Preble, some of Miami, Butler, and Hamilton counties. The 2 Democrats on the ballot here are Vanessa Enoch and Medeiros Grant. They are running against incumbent Republican Warren Davidson.
Yep. All right, so District 9, this area encompasses Northwest Ohio, Williams County down to Paulding, and also includes Toledo and Sandusky. And this one's an easy one because you got one person on your ballot. She's the incumbent, and that is Marcy Kaptur.
District 10, this is the Dayton area. So Montgomery, Greene, and a portion of Butler County. So the Democratic ballot will have quite a few choices. Have Janice Beckett, David Ezrati, Manuel Foggy, Jan Kinner, Christina Knickerbocker, and Tony Pombo. They are all running against Republican incumbent Michael Turner.
Yeah, and I'll just say strictly based on who's reached out to us, who has a social media presence, and who's actually, like, I think out there campaigning and fundraising. We're throwing our weight behind Christina Knickerbocker on this one. She is going to be coming on the show post-primary. I think she's kind of expected to win this one. So if that helps you, but like I said, it's a primary. If you like someone else, go vote for him. All right, District 11. This is Cleveland. This has a current incumbent sitting in the seat, and that is Chantel Brown. There are 2 people challenging her in the primary for that seat, Sean Freeman and Ardelia Holmes. I really hope I said her first name right. So the gripe I'll say that I think both Sean and Ardelia are running on is that Chantel takes a lot of APAC money. So anyway, that's kind of their gripe against Chantel. I think Chantel's voting record is actually really good. But anyway, do your homework. Figure out who you want to vote for and get out there and do it.
Okay, District 12. This is north and east of Columbus. So parts of Delaware and Knox counties down to Fairfield and some of Perry, all the way to Monroe County. This is our friend Jared Christian, and there's also Daniel Crawford and Jason Raynard in the Democratic primary. They are running to unseat incumbent Republican Troy Balderson. Big boo. Huge fans of Jared. We had him on the show. It's looking good for him in the primary, and we really hope he makes it out, and we are really hoping he wins in November.
For sure. Okay, District 13 is my district. So this is the Akron area. It includes Summit County, the Kent portion of Portage County, and the north kind of middle chunk of Stark, which is like North Canton and parts of Canton. There is one Dem on your ballot. This one's easy. It is the incumbent Amelia Sykes.
Okay, District 14. We're almost there, folks. This is Northeast Ohio, but like more Northeast than Cleveland. So think Portage County minus Kent, Geauga, Ashtabula, Lake, and Trumbull counties, and then part of Mahoning as well. We had Democratic candidate Carl Setzer on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. We're really excited about him and his platform. You'll also see on the Democratic ballot Rhea Jukic and Bill O'Neill.
Yeah, and just a little color on why Carl for us. Maria, to be honest, I just can't find any information on her, and I think that's unfortunate, but it's like when you don't know her platform, what are you supposed to do? And Bill, in my opinion and Sarah's opinion, is too old. Like, we have to stop electing such old people to folks.
We love his platform, but
yeah, he has a great progressive platform. Also, the Rooster did share some details about him I wasn't aware of. So,
anyway, yeah, I forgot about that. Oh my god,
problematic in some regards. But yeah, that's why we're going with Carl on this one.
All of the Democratic candidates in District 14, they are trying to unseat incumbent David Joyce of District 14.
Okay, last district, and then I promise we're going to talk about other stuff that will be on your ballot. District 15, this is the area west and southwest of Columbus, so parts of Franklin County, down to Pickaway, down and over to Highland County, up to Madison, and a little bit of Clark, and then most of Miami County. It's a really jacked up looking district, okay? It's very
wild.
weirdly shaped. It's like the definition of like gerrymandering, except it's not the salamander, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, so anyway, this seat is currently held by Mike Carey, and that person is running again. So the Democrats that are running in your primary are running to unseat Mike Carey. There are 2 on your ballot, Don Leonard and Adam Miller. And we personally know Dawn. We are backing Dawn. I will just say though, like people that we really respect are backing Adam. Like I think it's going to be a close race. Do your homework and yeah, vote your heart. I feel like I've said that 18 times tonight. Vote for your candidate.
Turn it into a drinking game, everyone. Every time please not vote your heart, take a drink. Okay, so let's talk about the state house. So specifically the Ohio State House. All 99 House seats and half of the 33 Senate seats are on your ballot. Again, this is for the Ohio State House. So think state income tax, sales tax, property tax, school funding, library funding, state parks, etc. All of these things are controlled primarily by our state house. So they are super important, even though we are not covering every single race today. So again, all 99 House seats and half of the 33 Senate seats are on the ballot. If you live in a Senate district that ends with an odd number, you are voting for your state Senate seat this year. And we have recommendations for many of those races in our Sway voting guide, and many of them do only have one candidate on the Dem side running, but please be sure to check before you actually go to vote. And don't worry, we will have our Sway voter guide as the first link in our show notes, so it is easily accessible for any and all.
Yes, Sarah covered the state house. We're going to talk about judges. There's probably judges on your ballot. I'm just going to say that based on the amount of number that are personally on my ballot. I don't know about yours, but I think I have 7 judges on my ballot. Many of them are at this county level. One is at the local level. So there's all kinds of judges. There's like common pleas, there's appellate courts, there's all kinds of things that truly, like, this is the space still where my mind kind of like feels like it's melting when I'm trying to look at my ballot because I don't even know like where to begin. But all that to say, like, just don't walk in blind. At least kind of do a search on your ballot. You will have a link to look up your ballot in the show notes as well. Check out what's on there. Go in as informed as possible. It is sometimes hard to find information on these judges, and it's also very hard when they're all like Democrats. You know what I mean? But yeah, try to just make your best informed choice, and definitely just go in at least knowing what's on your ballot in this case.
Absolutely.
Last thing before Sarah does a little special Columbus thing. There are probably levies on your ballot as well. So personally, I know that there's a library levy on my ballot. There are school levies on ballots. There could be other levies for your fire department or whatever. There could be a myriad of things. The point is, once again, check your ballot so you know what's on there, and then decide, go in informed enough so you know how to vote on that. Levies are not like other primaries. Like, your levy is legit. Like, either your levy passes or it doesn't. It's not like vote on it in the primary to go to the general. It's like a real levy. So,
she's like, this is legit. Actually,
so vote on it. Check it out because you might have a levy on your ballot.
This is like not to confuse everyone more, but this is like the general election for the levies.
Yeah. Which is interesting because some of them, like school boards, if they don't pass in this election, they'll put it on again in the general. But don't make your school board do that. Just go vote for your school boards and your libraries and all the things.
Yes, absolutely. Another thing that it's also a general election for are ballot initiatives. And there is one very important one that will be on your ballot if you live in Columbus and Columbus only. So I live in Grandview, a couple streets over from being technically Columbus, and I unfortunately cannot vote on this ballot initiative I'm about to share. So what I'm talking about is the Columbus Safety Elective, and this is going to be issue number 5, again, on those who live in Columbus. So hopefully you'll be hearing folks saying 555, issue 5 on May 5th. We want you to vote yes on issue 5. Issue 5 will create a community crisis response system that will enhance 911 calls for non-violent crises pertaining to behavioral health, wellness checks, homelessness, and others by dispatching a team of trained non-police responders, including clinicians, social workers, peer supporters, and EMTs. Now, to be clear, maybe some folks are like, wait, doesn't Columbus already have this? Yes, but only during the weekdays from like 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. So if you have a mental health crisis at 2 a.m. on a Saturday, which is more likely than like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, you're getting the police at 2 a.m. And really, really moving story. The woman who started this ballot initiative, her brother was killed by police after being called for a mental health crisis, as he was experiencing a mental health crisis. So I've heard her speak before, and it's just really evident how important this is to her, and it's an amazing cause and nonpartisan. Like there's really no argument against it. Honestly, a few other things issue 5 will do. It will reduce violence and save lives, all while not raising taxes. It'll improve health and safety outcomes for people in crisis by providing appropriate care responses, and also ensure that all Columbus residents feel safe when asking for help. So again, this is only for Columbus. So you are eligible if you live in Clintonville. If you live in German Village, you will have issue 5 on your ballot, and I am asking you, begging you to vote yes on it. It'll be better for the city of Columbus.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it. Hopefully you feel a little more prepared. Obviously, you still need to look up your ballot and do your own research for candidates, but hopefully you kind of know everything that should at least be on your ballot or could be on your ballot based on where you live. A few things. Please join our Sway voting group. That would be great. We would really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll help you with just some of your ballot recommendations. Second, look up your ballot. Like I said, we'll have the link. And third, show up and vote in your primary. I was talking to someone more on like the national level earlier today, and they were saying how like if we have a good voter turnout in the May primary for Democrats that are showing up to cast Democratic ballots, it will prove federally that like we can win a race like Sherrod Brown's race, for example, or Amy Acton's race. And guess what? More people will give us money to win those races if we can prove that Democrats exist here and are going to vote for Democrats. So it's really important for us to have a big turnout in the primary. So please, 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 you vote, but then tell 2 of your friends to make sure they're ready to vote as well.
That's cool. Right. Thanks, everyone. We know this was a lot of information, but please share it to any other Ohio voters you may know. And yeah, like Ashley said, get your friends, family, acquaintances, enemies to vote in the primary. Thanks for listening.
Do we want enemies voting? Do we want enemies voting?
If maybe your enemies are politically aligned. I don't know.
Oh, I just assumed they would not be, but maybe. Okay.
Ashley's in the mind of just politics. Maybe you just hate them because they stole your parking spot or something. I don't know.
Wow, Sarah has enemies for a crazy reason, Joel. Okay.
I do love this specific parking spot in my parking garage, so.
All right, catch y'all next week.
Bye. Happy voting. May 5th is the primary.